one of the things we talk about all the time as a church is that we're a church for people who don't think church is for them. And we pretty much include any group that has that thought that goes into their head that church isn't really for me. A lot of times younger kids don't think that church is for them. They think it's for somebody older or somebody who has their stuff more together. And we really focus on people who don't think it's for them. And that's a big deal.
We know that after high school age, the vast majority of North American teens walk out of church and never return. We're talking over 80% of graduating high schoolers who now have the freedom to decide whether they go or not. And so if we could expand that demographic a little bit, like up into early 20s, we also know that the hardest person to reach in the United States is a early 20s male. For sure. They want nothing to do with modern church. They've been turned off by it, have no tie to it, don't feel a need for it. And honestly, that is the target that we picked. We feel like we're well set with a leadership team and an environment that appeals to them. We make decisions very clearly to not alienate that demographic. And so we've had great success. When you walk in on a Sunday morning and you look at Mosaic, it looks like a bunch of 20-something unchurched males. And that's a tough demographic, but we're seeing great movement there. And we seem to have found credibility with that. So that bleeds down into that teenage group. We're doing things that appeal to them. We're almost all digital in all of our communication. We rarely print anything, no bulletins or programs. Mm-hmm. We have upbeat, great sound system, great media usage, things like that, stuff that appeals to that generation because they're attached to their devices. And so we're going to attach to them any way we can.
Very good. And you know, as you mentioned, it's a good... I guess you'd call it a role model. You know, when the teenagers, the 14, 15, 16, 17, whatever, see the 20-year-olds, 21, 22, back from college, in college kind of thing, still being involved, they realize that as soon as they're graduating from college and moving on or that type of thing, that's not. This isn't the end of the road for them just because they're going with mom and dad or something like that. It kind of gives them I don't know if you'd call it a mentor or something like that to look up to, that there is life after high school, I guess, or some religion after high school, that type of thing.
I know my story was that my faith was my parents' faith. I adopted it. It was convenient. I worshipped like they worshipped. I had a view of God like they had. And at some point that started to wear thin because that wasn't how it was designed. God wanted a relationship with me personally, and he had created me to serve him with certain gifting and things. And what we've done in this environment is we start in our middle school teaching them that there's a call on your life. God created you with purpose, not when you're 21, right now at 13. And all of a sudden you see him come alive and realize, hey, I have a purpose with my existence, and it's bigger than just getting through middle school or getting through high school. And that's where we start to see people make their faith their own, and it's a really, really cool transformation.
I love that. Now, you mentioned that the 20-something males are your target, kind of your target DMA, if we can, and that's also the age that addiction is really hitting hard, are the late teens, early 20s, early to mid-20s. I know that you and your church are part of this fight against addiction, and I was hoping you'd be able to elaborate on that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. So we are, for sure, involved in that fight. We kind of look at addiction, the root of it is a heart problem, and that kind of is that's our business, is people's hearts. That's what we're after. So we're not really after the what, we're more after the why. Why is somebody becoming addicted to something? And since we believe that every human being has a deep longing in their soul that they're trying to fill with something, we believe we have the answer. We believe that Jesus is the answer. So if we can get to that and they can actually find the answer to why they're longing for something, then whatever they're trying to fill their life with, whether it be sticking a needle in their arm or something less than that, we think we have the answer to really satisfying their soul. So that's what we're trying to get out there.
Going along with that, you have actually had people come to you through addiction, and they've been saved because of your church.
Yes. Oh, Tina, we have so many people. I mean, I've got like a list here I've got a former heroin addict leading worship every Sunday. I've got a former heroin addict behind him playing guitar, pretty regular. I've got a former heroin addict going to Liberty College to be a Christian counselor. He's on the honor roll. He rocks. I've got another former heroin addict who started a ministry called Really Recovered. I think you guys are going to have him on next week. Ken Hawkins.
We are. Yeah. Yes, we are. I cannot even contain myself right now. I am in tears over this because too often you don't hear the recovery story.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, here, not to try and make you cry more, we had a former heroin dealer come to church this Sunday. He's been coming for a while with his new baby. Brand new baby sitting in the front row. So,
oh my goodness.
It's just really cool, the transformation we are getting a front row seat to. And again, we believe it's because the answer is found in the heart.
I agree. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for what you're doing for this fight and all that you will continue to do and for opening your doors and giving people a second chance.
Yeah, it's hard. I got a lot of people who kind of look at me crazy, ministry friends who look at me and say, why would you trust, people like that? And I'm like, man, well, that's the kind of person that Jesus hung out with all the time. So we kind of get pegged as the misfit church sometimes. People kind of pat us on the head, and I'm like, listen, we wear that as a badge of honor. Like, I'm excited about that.
Well, that's you're right. I mean, that's the status quo. That's not. Be honest with you, it's some of the other congregations or whatever that are really the odd ducks out when you look at the Bible. Like you said, with you look at the who Jesus hung out with, it wasn't it wasn't all the saints.
Right. Yeah, that's what we really, really take it serious to be a church for people who don't think church is for them, because we look at the way Jesus lived his life, and those are the people that he was after. He was after those people who didn't think that God actually loved them, didn't think that God wanted anything to do with them. And we want to kind of surprise him and be like, actually, he really does.
Tom, we know our battle is not against our fellow, brothers and sisters, and so we're not going to be church bashers by any means. But there is a frustration that comes with that, because nearly everybody says, hey, all are welcome here. Some people put it on their signs and things like that. But when you walk in, very much if you don't look a certain way or speak a certain way or kind of know the code of the church, you're not welcome there. At least you don't feel welcome there. And that's something that we work very hard at, and we pay a big price. Our church doesn't look like a church. When you mentioned, Joe, how are you going to make it look like a house of worship? Well, what Adam said is exactly right, but we're not super concerned about making it look like a church.
It's the feel.
You got
it.
It's the feel, and it's we think moving to the high school is a positive. It's one less obstacle to that person who wants nothing to do with church saying, I'll check this out, because what I'm trying right now isn't working for me, and so maybe I'll try some of this.
Well, there was someone that was up there. Was the one story where they were going into church. It was cold, and there was a homeless guy on the steps or whatever, in a ragged coat or whatever, wanted to come in, and they wouldn't let. You're not, you don't belong here. We'll try and get you help. It's like, well, wait a minute, you're. That's why he's there. That's why he. Where else would he go? He's at the right place, right? Exactly. So it's much along those same lines where it's
Again, that is actually part of why we're excited to move to a building that's not a church. We've stood at our front doors and consistently heard this joke that people tell, that they think as they walk across the threshold into this building that they're going to burst into flames. Like, it's a joke that people tell consistently, and the people that are coming to our church kind of have that feel like they're nervous about this building, like there's something to it. And we want to eliminate every barrier for somebody like that to come. And we figure, well, the high school's the high school. And you're right, everybody in the community has already been in that building. There's no barrier to walking in there. And that's what we're really excited about, just to be able to walk in and be a part of it and experience it and hear about the truth of Jesus, which I think will transform their lives.
Right.
When you talk about addiction and helping out these young men and young women, is it just Sunday services for them? Are there other things that you do to help them out, let's say the other 6 days of the week or anything like that to help them so that they can come on Sundays, and be able to fit right in or do whatever it is that they want?
Well, without going too much into philosophy, we try not to do programs for every single thing
Okay.
that there is a need for. What we've done is, like, this church, it's not like, oh, you're an addict, so you sit in this section. Like, this church is so integrated with that they're just a part of the church. It's not like there's some separate segment. So yes, coming on Sunday is a big part of that. But the thing that's most exciting about our church is that the people there that they can walk with and do life with understand because they've been there. And it's just such a high percentage of our people that it's easy to kind of integrate in and just be a part of it and get that help organically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, organically, what that literally looks like is that not Adam or myself are going out and necessarily meeting somebody. So Ken would be a great example, or we've got a guy named Dan who are coming from addiction. They're meeting with these guys one-on-one, one-on-two through the week. They're bringing them in on Sunday. We do have
Okay.
small groups, but we don't segregate our small groups. We don't have a women's small group or a men's small group or an addicts small group or a whatever. We integrate everybody. So in the same small group, often you'll have a past drug user, maybe a current drug user, and an arresting officer, and and it's a great mix. And while there can be tension in that, it's amazing the movement that can happen in that. And so as opposed to putting a program trying to squeeze them into that, we watch this happen organically, and we resource our people to carry out this mission.